Yeah. Quinn on the mic, I'ma lace it with truth. Phillip in the back, calling plays from the booth. Podcast vibes, broadcasting the word. Sharper than a two-edged sword. Every verse heard on my arm strap. Shield tight like a glove. Faith in my veins, powered by God's love. Ephesians 6:11, yeah, it's the drill. Put on the full armor, stand firm in his will. Armor up, we don't back down. Shield of faith when the world comes around. Sword in my hand, I'm ready to fight. Jesus is the captain leading through the night. Yeah, sports in the spirit, it's a game of endurance. Training in faith, no room for deterrence. Quinn and Phillip, tag team for the kingdom. Breaking down walls till the world can see them. Helmet of salvation, blocking the lies. Belt of truth, yeah, I'm suited to rise. Yeah, shoes fitted tight, spreading peace while I step. I run this race with Jesus, no regret. You feel the heat, that's the fire of the spirit. Voices in the dark, but I don't even hear it. Face my defense, prayer's my offense. Victory in Jesus, yeah, it's immense.
Welcome back to Armor Up Athletics, episode 35, titled Spring Transformation. I'm your host, Matt Quinn, joined as always by Phillip Leviner. What's up, Phillip?
What's going on, Matt? Another great day, man.
It is always a great day. It is always a great day, man. We went to go watch practice at Liberty this morning.
Saw that.
It had a great time up there, learned some stuff, got to see some of the old Burns guys out there. So really cool to be back up with those guys. But, man, we're talking about spring transformation here in episode 35. We're in spring practice. A lot of teams are either in spring practice or finishing spring practice right now. So I thought, this is a great time to share this topic, Phillip. Spring transformation and changing seasons. But before we move forward, man, episode 35. Jersey numbers. Number 35. Who you got?
Well, we talked a little bit before the show. I'm gonna throw my football guy out there that you may not have known, but Christian Okoye was a big stud for me. But baseball, man, Ricky Henderson was my guy. Ricky was a dog, so loved watching him play.
Yeah, Ricky was a good one. The first 35 that popped into my mind was Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. Dude was a massive human being. Probably should have been on a football field somewhere.
Yeah.
But he had a pretty good baseball career, so I don't think he missed out on too much money. But the Big Hurt, man, those are good ones. Those are good ones for sure for 35.
He was right at my I graduated in 93. I think he was a rookie in 93. I remember him coming in. I got 2 or 3 of his rookie cards, and he was a pleasure to watch.
Well, tonight's episode it's about a season that we're all either stepping into or currently in, literally and figuratively, right? We're literally going into spring, and figuratively, this is spring in our faith. Maybe it's a season of growth, a season of change, a season of transformation, because what happens in this next season sets the tone for what's next in your life, what's next in your faith, right, Phillip?
Mm-hmm. And the thing about spring, what's so fun about it is, you got the resurrection, you got Easter that kind of starts it, so you get that risen Savior, that new beginning there, and then you're ready to sports. I mean, you guys are in spring training, you're getting ready for the new season, you're prepping, and it's just God's nature symbolizing divine restoration, man, new beginnings. Right, it's a time every year where the weather changes, the birds come out, the rains come, the beautiful flowers are there. It's just a chance to really kind of set the tone for your mind and your soul. A lot of great sporting events around this time of year. You had the Masters that just happened. Again, football seasons. It's kind of the spring version of. We get a little taste of football before the fall comes. Kind of sets us up, but just a great time of year, man.
Yes, sir. And you mentioned it there, man. Spring is where teams are built. It's not game day, it's not the spotlight, but it's development season, right? You have new systems, you have new habits, you have new standards in a program. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens daily, and it starts in spring in sports, right? But in faith, it works the same way. God works the same way. He doesn't just change your situation, He transforms you. He transforms your mindset. He transforms your habits. He transforms your heart. And the big thing here, man, is transformation requires surrender. You can't step into the new if you're still holding on to the old. We can't be living in winter sports season and playing basketball in the spring, right?
And the thing about it, man, it's like a spiritual awakening, right? It's where your dormant faith is going to grow. It's that opportunity to trust God's purpose, to trust that His spring is a reminder to trust His purpose. It's His ability to create life from barrenness, right? It's a beautiful thing. Again, it's one of my favorite times of year. I really got back into the golf mode. You know, I played golf today. I'm not a winter golf guy, right? If it's 50 degrees, I'm not playing. But when the flowers come out and the sun comes out, it was 90 degrees today, had a cool breeze. You just want to be outside. The days are longer. You know, it's just a beautiful, beautiful time. And it's reflection of what God can do. Like it really shows God to me when you can walk out right now and see what's happening and just take the time to slow down and see it. I'm loving it. I love this time of year, man.
Yes, sir. I will jump into some scripture here, Philip. I'll share my verse first. I pulled my verse from Romans 12:2. It says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will." And for me, this verse focuses on transformation, not just change. In spring we see transformation of the flowers, transformation of the weather. It doesn't just change, it slowly transforms, right? You don't just wake up one day and it's 90 degrees. We went from 50 to
Right.
60 to 70 to 80. So it's a slow transformation. And that's what I like about this verse because it talks about that transformation, transforming your mind, renewing your mind. And it emphasizes the renewal, right? And that's something that we talk about with spring is the renewal of the season. It's kind of turning the page on the old football season and getting towards the new team. This is the 2026 Cougars team that we're practicing with. We'll add some to the family, but this is a renewal of our minds and our program. And I love this verse and how it applies to this topic, Philip.
Yeah, man, that's powerful. It's a great verse. I actually read that one yesterday myself when I was looking for a verse that stuck out to me. But I found 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old is gone, the new is here. Right? Signifies the old is gone, the new is here. Represents a shift away from life defined by sin, guilt, and worldly perspective, moving towards a life aligned with God's purpose. That, my friend, puts chills on me because that's exactly what both of us and what we hope that every believer out there is trying to do is to get that life away that where we were defined by sin and guilt. And I was for a long time, my life was defined about how good I could party and how much I could drink. And now I'm slowly shifting to where my life is defined by God and what I'm doing for Him. And it's such a great move. I got to talk about Him today on the golf course, got to share my story with my teammates out there. They recognized that I wasn't drinking. And he's like, the first question, you don't drink? I'm like, not anymore, and that led right into me being able to testify and witness to these guys. And by the end of the round, you always hear this. It's like, yeah, I probably need to cut back too. I probably need to, so whether they do or don't, you heard Jesus and you heard what I was saying. And it's just a good time it's cool when people ask that. Cause I tell people, Matt, I don't care if you drink that's your story, right? That's something that you got to live with Jesus about. My story is I can't do it. And my story led to a big downfall, but it's so great to share it. Just wanted to share that right there. I was going to tell you that before we got on the show, but man, it was so fun just being on the golf course and testifying. That's crazy.
I love it. I love it, man. And, it just shows the transformation, right? We're talking about that tonight. And you got to truly tell people the story of your transformation and how God has transformed you and taken you away from that lifestyle. So I love the fact that you are able to share. I love the fact that I'm able to share with people in certain situations. Like, hey, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you used to do this? Like, well, let me tell you why. What's changed
Yeah.
in my life?
Yeah.
And they're
It's like,
like,
please
oh,
open that door and let me tell you.
yeah. Yeah. And when they do, I get to kind of revisit everything that's happened. And every time I tell people different stories about how my life's changed in this way or that way, it truly hits me differently every time. Like I'm thinking like, man, God is good. And any story, it's like, I can't believe I went through that. And it's hard for me to fathom the transformation that's happened throughout whatever the past 290 days have been, right?
Getting close.
Yeah, yeah. And it's been amazing, man. The spring transformation. The good news for everybody that's listening, if you're not there, you don't feel like you're there, you can be. It's never too late. It's not too late till it's too late, is what I had a guy used to say. Um, so it's not too late till it's too late, guys. You got a chance to go through a spring transformation right here, this spring, right now. Start tonight, start tomorrow, but get going.
And one thing I can add to that verse is where it says new creation. This is implying a radical inward regeneration by the Holy Spirit, not just merely turning over a new leaf, right? We're not talking about a New Year's resolution. We're talking about a radical inward regeneration by the Holy Spirit, by God turning your life inside out, turning your heart inside out. We're not saying that I'm going to lose 10 pounds this year, right? We're talking about a full-on sellout and believing uh, in something that's greater than us. And you know, I don't know of anywhere else I would want to be. I can tell you, coming up on your 365, um, it's a big moment. Every day is a big moment, but 365 is a big moment. That's a full year of a commitment, of something that we really, really had thought we enjoyed. So proud of you, man. Keep it up. And once you get past 365, all you're gonna do is smile. I wake up every day and I just smile.
Well, I the cool thing about my story is that it's going to be on the 4th of July. It's going to be 365. So
Wow.
we'll set off some fireworks in celebration, man. It's going to be fun, man. But moving forward, episode 35, spring transformation. Philip, I want to jump into some real talk here, like we always do. My real talk for the week. Everybody wants the results, but not everybody commits to the process, right? If you want the results, you have to commit to the process. I tell our guys this, they probably get tired of me saying it. If you want to be different, you've got to do something different. And spring is where you do that. Spring is where we've done that as a football program. You fix what's broken, you build what's missing, right? You're recruiting, you're building what's missing. You grow where you've been weak. You focus on defense that struggled. You focus on an offensive line that struggled, right? So those processes are not always pretty. In football, in life, in your faith, that process is not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be easy. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is hard, man. Transformation takes sacrifice. But I'm telling you guys, in this real talk, there is no greater reward than when you do that. There is not a single championship, ring, trophy, medal, paycheck. There's nothing like the feeling that I get when I start talking about this and I'm passionate about it. And I could tell now that when I look back at past situations and past conversations that I've had, this is what was truly missing in my life. And so I'm telling you guys as part of the real talk, it's not too late for you.
Well, you hit something there. Change is hard, right? And I had this conversation also at the golf course when I pulled up. A young man that I know really well come up to me and he was telling me about a situation in his household. I don't want to get in too much of his details, but he was asking me about my journey, basically how I was able to quit and do that. And when everybody in their world they hang out with does it, right? And basically I said change, right? You've got to change everything, right? You got to pull yourself out of people you've been close to your whole life. You got to pull yourself out of situations that you've been normalizing your whole life. and you've got to change it completely. And is it hard? 1000%. I mean, you can probably attest to this. The first 3 months, I was lost. I had no idea what to do. I couldn't play golf because I drank beer. I couldn't even grill because I drank beer. Everything I did, it was like coming to life. It's like, what did I do? Did I not do anything without a beer, man? So going back to my point, change is definitely hard in anything that we do. And if you're trying to get better and you've been one way and you're not getting there and you have to change it, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. But is it going to be worth it? Yes. Yes, it is, man. That's the beauty of it.
Yes,
That's the spring
absolutely.
transformation, right?
Yeah, that's transformation. And guys, I want to mention too that it's not something that necessarily is going to happen overnight. It's going to be hard. There's going to be difficult moments. And Philip, I'll say it again because I say it all the time to my kids anyway. 1% better, right? 1% better every day. That's transformation. That is that gradual transformation. If you have to break it down into hours, for example, I'm going to go the next hour without a drink and then build on that 1% better. I'm gonna take the next hour and listen to a podcast about Jesus. I'm gonna listen to praise and worship music for the next hour. I'm gonna read my Bible for an hour. Like 1% better every day leads to that transformation. Small steps in whatever you're doing. And people, I think in the game of football and even in faith and in life and in general, people overlook the small steps, this minor, what we think are minor details that lead to big transformation. Right? We talk about it with our football team. We ask you to be behind the line. We ask you to do 5 reps. We ask you to do all these little things, and we go crazy when you don't do those little things. You're like, Coach, well, I was just this far over the line. Those little things lead to big things. Little mistakes lead to big mistakes. Right? We're this far over the line. You jump off sides on 4th and 1, give them a first down. Right? And so in life, in faith, in sports, those little steps, guys, focus on the little steps. If you have to break it down into 30-minute segments, that's cool too. But take those baby steps forward. Get 1% better every day.
And we use that same analogy. I teach this to my safety guys coming in. Simple task, simple task, simple task. If we can't do the simple things, we'll never do the big things, right? If we can't go out there and keep the site clean, right? Just keep housekeeping up, just keep the trash picked up, low hanging fruit. Then the next thing, we're that leads to accidents, leads to injuries. So we use that same format, that Swiss cheese model, right? You're talking about to have holes in your program. So you gotta be able to complete simple tasks. And I always go back to this, and you probably know this story where the Navy admiral talks about making your bed. One of the greatest stories I've ever heard in my life. Just sets everything in perspective. I mean, if you want to have a great day, get out of bed and make your bed. Just a small completion of a small task. You feel better about it. You're motivated, and like you said, break it down. Don't try to. I mean, I say this all the time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, dude. That's it. You're not going to eat the whole elephant at one time. You take small bites, and you just continue to stay true to the game and eat them one bite at a time, and that's how you get better. Like today, I mean, it ain't what I did, it's what I'm doing. This is a daily battle, and it always will be. I'm gonna have to continue to get 1% better every day because if I don't, there's a chance that you slip and go backwards. So I have to continue to complete simple tasks. And what makes it better for me, like with you, is talking about it. I love sharing my story. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I love it. I embrace it. It's who I am. It's what's made me here. It's what's made me, through adversity and perseverance and be able to be here. And if I can share a little bit of my story and it helps somebody else, absolutely, I'm going to do it. You know?
Yes, sir. Episode 35, Spring Transformation Locker Room Challenge.
Here it comes.
I want you guys identify one area you need to grow in. This could be discipline, this could be effort, this could be attitude, and most importantly, it could be your faith, right? Identify that one area where you need to grow. And then I want you to commit to working on it every single day. I want you to commit to getting 1% better every single day. those small daily challenges and those small daily changes, that leads to the big transformation, right? If it's whatever your goal is, it's not going to happen tomorrow. Okay. My goal is to coach in the SEC. That ain't happening tomorrow. Okay. But I'm going to take baby steps forward in my work ethic and in my program and in my team and in my profession to achieve that goal. If you want to be 1 year sober, guess what? That's not going to happen tomorrow, guys. You got to take one baby step forward. If you want to go on this challenge where you read the Bible 365 days in a row, it's not going to happen tomorrow. Okay. Take baby steps forward. So identify where you need to grow and commit to getting 1% better at that every single day.
Commitment and discipline. I just completed my first fast. I'd never done that before. I've seen people do it. I just never been committed enough to do it. I've been trying to get in my Bible and find time and get more committed and get more closer to God. Our church did a fast. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it, and I did a 24-hour water fast. And man, I'm telling you, Matt, at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, I was hurting. It's like the devil put it on my mind. He was putting hamburgers and hot dogs and steak all on my mind. And I just grabbed my phone. I didn't have my Bible with me, and I just found verses and I just started reading verses and I was praying. And by the end of it, I was fine and I felt so much closer to God. And then when I completed it, the confidence it gives me now that I stayed committed, I stayed disciplined, and I pushed through that. So it gives you confidence that you can continue to do these things, man. So commitment, discipline, embracing the transformation, embracing the change, and look, embracing the difficulty, right? You got to embrace the journey. You gotta love the process. I'm sure y'all talk about that in practice. You gotta love the practice. I tell my kids that all the time. If you don't love the practice, you're not gonna give your best effort, and you're not gonna perform in a game. You gotta love the process, good or bad.
Yeah, Philip, when you were texting me and telling me about the fast and how you were going through it, do you remember the old 90s sitcoms where they would have like the devil sitting on this shoulder and the angel sitting on this shoulder and they'd tell them so as soon as I saw the text and you're going through it, I had one of those moments. Okay. I'm gonna tell you now live here, right on the air. This side was saying, send him a picture of this cheeseburger you just pulled off the grill. And then this side was like, be a supportive friend. Tell him you got this. And I was like, well, and I didn't know where to go. But hey, I didn't send you a picture of the cheeseburger. I went with the angel on the
That
shoulder.
cheeseburger would have come across, I'd have thrown my phone.
I did have that moment, man, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I said he was going to be so mad, so I just decided to be supportive friend and tell you got this. And oh man, but I thought that would be a funny story for you to know about now in hindsight. Now that you've completed it, I can tell you.
Oh boy, I look, it was I'm gonna probably do another one later on in the year. But I really embrace the journey of it now. And I see what it means now. He talks about fasting in the Bible, and yeah, if the cheeseburger would have come across, I probably would have threw my phone. 2 o'clock yesterday, you might have got me. I might have ate it. I might have ate the phone.
And the crazy thing is, Philip, there's a little meat market out here, and I went by there and picked up some burgers, and they're pre-patted out for you, but it's got cheese, bacon, and
Oh
peppers like inside the meat, and then you cook. Oh my gosh, unbelievable! And I knew you'd have been mad, so I just left it alone.
yeah, I had to kind of shut a lot of people down. It's, I got really good friends. I do, but I got some that likes to play jokes. Nobody really messed with me during it though, so that was really cool.
Well,
But
guys, episode 35, spring transformation. Take your next steps to get 1% better. Um, that'll lead us to a little bit of sports talk here, Philip. There was a semi-important golf tournament last week, I think. Uh,
yeah, they was it up there in Chesterfield? Was that,
no,
that's not the one?
the Masters. Man, first off, this was like the first Masters in I can't even remember how many years it was. I think I want to say 19 like 94 since that didn't have either Phil Mickelson or Tiger Woods in it. So that was unique in this Masters. Secondly, the weather and the conditions out there were absolutely amazing. I mean, they talked about how fast the greens were playing, and people have described trying to putt on those greens like if you put a golf ball on a gym floor and tried to make it stop where you wanted, like it's just going to keep going. So the greens were definitely rolling fast, and then we had some crazy play. Rory just blows out the field for a little bit, and then he gets caught. And Cam Young, I thought on the last day, I thought he was going to be able to pull it out. We had DeChambeau get cut after the second day, which I said this could be the year. He's been there 10 years in a row, and I ran my mouth about DeChambeau. I put the Quinn Armor Up Athletics curse on him. That's my bad, Bryson. So it was a good
Justin
tournament.
Rose made a little run right there on
Yeah,
Sunday. You really didn't know there for a second on Sunday. Sunday got very interesting.
yeah,
It was a big and again, uh, I think it showed how that course and that tournament is one of the best and biggest around because the pressure of that tournament on Sunday, the conditions out there, I don't people the television doesn't do it justice of how that green and those hills and the shots that they have to hit. And I don't know if you saw 18 tee box and they're lying down the fairway. I mean, I'd
yeah.
kill about seven people if it was.
Yeah, I was watching it, and my wife looked over at the TV, and she's like, "People are everywhere. How's he going to hit his ball?" I was like, "Well, baby, they don't hit like me. Okay, they're going to be fine." And it's crazy. One of the hypotheticals, Philip, that I was going to throw out there to you, right? Um, if you had to play like prime Rory, like Rory's on fire right now, you had to play against Rory at Augusta National, but you start on the furthest point of every green, and all you're doing is putting. Do you think you could beat him on Sunday?
Rory right now to me is the new Tiger.
Yeah.
Like the thing I loved, he didn't blow the field out like Tiger did. Like Tiger shot 22 under that year, right? And the next closest one was 800. But what he did do, he was doing it, and when he lost his lead, he never lost his composure, like he would do in the past. Like you've seen Roy through the years, if he'd done that, he would have never came back. He stayed solid. He stayed in the match. He kept focused, and he made the putts when he needed to make them. And that to me is a champion, dude. That course can eat from hole to hole can eat you alive.
So
Um,
so back to the question. Don't dodge it. If you had to just start at the furthest point of the green and putt, and Rory's playing normal, can you beat him one on one?
no, I proved that today at Chesterfield. Definitely for putting at Augusta. No, I'm out.
Another hypothetical that me and some of my buddies like to play is what would Rory shoot at Green River in one round?
41.
I mean, if and we talk about different golfers too, like DeChambeau goes to Marlboro Country Club, he doesn't even bring his driver with him. There's no point.
No, the thing. Look, on the front side at Green River, he's probably shooting 18. You know what I'm saying? And that's not a knock on Green River. It's not. Because the back, I think he would probably shoot maybe 36. you know. But I mean, again, we play these courses around here, and I don't knock these courses. I think the State Park's probably one of the best courses around. Marlboro's a great course to play. But we're also talking about 68, 6,700 yards versus 76, 7,800 yards through some of the toughest hills and terrains and fastest greens that you've ever seen. Now, the one thing they don't have that I think I could beat them at, they can't hit off roots and pine straw and sand because we do that around here. All right. They get their pine straw trucked in and laid down perfectly. You know, let me see them play off a root or two, and then we'll see what's happening.
Let me see them play with a pine cone right behind their ball.
With a car horn blowing in the background, some guy riding by the course.
Oh man. I just think those are fun. That's what we talk about now on the golf course. We're riding around, like we get the whole like a short par four. Like, what club would DeChambeau hit right here off the tee? Like probably a 6 iron and be on the green. I don't know, but like
Yeah,
um
it's.
but
I
but
mean,
again, Masters
and
tournament.
honestly, in the little fun picks that we did, I had DeChambeau too, and I couldn't believe he really couldn't put a round together. He just did. He didn't. I don't know what he was doing. He wasn't didn't seem prepared.
Yeah.
7 over in 2 days.
I tell you who was prepared. Rory was prepared. The dude, skipped the two tournaments prior and just took time to fly into he told a story of when he would drop his kid off at school, fly
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Augusta, play around, fly back home, pick her up and eat dinner with the family. I'm like
Tough
that
life.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
he
must be
skipped the two
tough.
tournaments in Texas because he just drops his daughter off and flies to Augusta and plays around.
Yeah. And he played it like something like 20 something times before he got there. So he was prepared for the course. Now, obviously, like tournament conditions are a little bit different. They, cut the greens different and roll them out and all that. But I mean, he knew the layout like front and back. I'm sure his yardage books were all dialed in. And then we talked about it before, last week was he was playing like, I think this is why you saw him play, where he didn't lose his composure. He was playing stress free. He didn't need to win it this time to complete the Grand Slam. This was just like icing on the cake after winning the career Grand Slam and winning it last year. And now he got it again. But I think that alleviated a lot of pressure for him.
Yeah, he called it last year too. He said, I hope to be back here next year putting the green jacket back on myself, And I think a lot of winning it last year obviously helped him this year. Because once you get over that hump, you understand the pressure, you've been there, you've been able to overcome it. Obviously, it makes it a little bit easier, but you still got to put four solid rounds together at Augusta. And he did, he really did. I thought Cameron Young was going to really do something, but you could tell that course is unforgiving, man. One bad touch, one bad face hit, and it's just like that. You're done. I mean, there was one guy, Lee. He had a 10 on the par five on Sunday, shot 80. I
I've
mean
done
that's
that.
my yeah
I've shot a 10
that's
on a par five.
that's my score. You know,
Not at Augusta. It's not your
not
score.
at
I'll tell you
Augusta.
that.
I can
Man,
definitely pull a 10 off at Augusta.
I think so. On a par three, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, like, you miss a green, like a landing spot on a green, and it's rolling off the green into the water. Like, there's just small spot. Anyway, the course is amazing. I've been in person there twice, and I
I've
loved
never
every
been.
second of it. And I entered the lottery every year, and I never get picked to go. I just so happen to know people those two times that I went before that actually got me in, but. It's definitely something that everybody should experience. Even if you just love nature, like just walk out there and like the grass is like carpet, where even the patrons are walking is just carpet. And it's amazing what it looks like and what it feels like. But man, episode
I got
35.
I got one more quick update.
Go.
Spring football. Last weekend I was in the swamp with Spurrier and Coach Sumrall and my boys. This weekend I'm in Danville, Virginia, Armor Up Athletics. Coach Matt Quinn's gonna get an interview, and we're gonna be in Averett University for the spring game for Averett. I am excited. I'm bringing the boys up. We are looking forward to it. We are pumped and ready.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This Saturday, April the 18th. That is the next thing in sports, I guess. And it's going to be a showcase to our fans and our community and our families of our spring transformation, what we stand for and our standards and how we've worked and changed our program over the past few weeks and months of workouts. And I'm excited about it, man. It's going to be
Well, we're looking
fun.
forward to being there. Like I said, Armor Up's going to be doing a little bit of broadcasting from up there and kind of showcase what's going on up there. I think you're going to do great things there. I love the fact that you're recruiting locally and giving these kids opportunities to showcase themselves at the collegiate level. So awesome deal, man. We're looking forward to being there with you.
Yes, sir. The local talent is definitely a priority. Obviously, we have to recruit our home base here in Virginia and within the surrounding areas. But when we talk about the local talent, I think there's a lot of local talent in your hometown area, Phillip, that just goes unnoticed and overlooked year after year after year at various schools, not just Sherall, your school,
Right.
but
Right.
various schools in the PD. This week I had Coach Carabo hit the recruiting trail in Chesterfield County and some surrounding counties there, and seeing some different players getting ready for the 27 class, checking in on some of the 2026 commits, just saying hello, and we're excited and hope you can make it to the game. And so I'm excited about what he's doing, by the way. Coach Carabo has been a huge asset to our program, and being able to hit the road and recruit a little bit this week for us back in his hometown that he knows so well, in his home area, has been awesome.
Yeah, I was talking to him today. He said he's going to be up this weekend, and I talked to QB Caden. They baseball practice. I think he's going to be up this weekend, so should be a good time, man. Again, there's nothing better than obviously showcasing those kids like that, but give them an opportunity to continue their education and to really, make something in their life while enjoying the game that they love to play, that they work hard to play. So
Yeah.
good deal, man. Super proud of you and the school and these kids, and just thankful to be a part of it this weekend. My kids are pumped, especially Paxton. You might want to look at him. He's a little butterball, big guy. He's 8, but put him on your radar.
Class of 2038. I mean, what are we
Somewhere
talking
around there.
about?
Jagger's 31, so yeah, 38 maybe.
Crazy how I'm getting pretty close and accurate with those now. That's stupid. But no, man, episode 35, spring transformation. Last thing I'll mention about sports, and we'll jump into a special guest interview. Savannah Bananas went with my kids. They were on spring break. They beat the Texas Tailgaters. It was at UNC. Coach Bill Belichick came out on the field as the guest coach for the Bananas.
Nice.
It was awesome to be a part of. 50,000 people there, sold out crowd. Man, it is. I'll tell you, it is a show from start to end. Like, there is no downtime. There's music playing at all times. There's something going on, some type of contest, there's people all over the stadium. They got their cast members in the stadium, in the stands, walking around and doing different contests every half inning. It's a spectacle. And,
Yeah.
and then the athleticism of some of those guys. I mean, you've got guys that played college baseball, guys that were in the minor leagues. Jackie Bradley Jr. is in the league now with the Indianapolis Clowns, which is in the Banana Ball League. So
Nice.
he's the captain of the Indianapolis Clowns. So you've got guys that can play the game, and then you add a little flair and excitement to it, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to watch. I'll say that.
Well, yeah, we weren't trying to decide if we could get to one or not. That guy's done a great job building that franchise up into what it is.
Mm.
His business model's on point.
His story is amazing, man.
It is.
And he
It
talks
really
at
is.
different business and leadership conferences and stuff. And I've watched a few of them. He went from literally selling his own house to save the team when he first bought
Yep.
it. Him and his wife moved into a small apartment. They had the faith. They trusted the process. They got 1% better every day in their organization, and turned it into a $1 billion
Yeah.
uh, league now.
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll jump over to our special guest interview. We have a very special guest out of Phillip's hometown, a Sherall Brave, a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket, a Delaware Blue Hen, Philadelphia Eagle, Mr. Andy Hall. What was your nickname for him?
QB1.
QB1. We'll head on over and show the interview with Andy Hall. Welcome back to Armor Up Athletics, episode 35. We are now joined by a very special guest, Mr. Andy Hall, and I'm going to allow Phillip to introduce him and start tonight's interview.
What's up, man? Yeah, Andy Hall. I think his legendary exploits speak for themselves. Andy and I go way back over a few years of friendship and golf, and got to watch Andy play a lot at Sherall High School and through his college career. I honestly just not being a fan here, but a legendary resume to say the least. And glad to have you, Andy. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, glad to be here, man.
Good deal, good deal. Well, look, we're just gonna get right into the meat and potatoes of this thing, man. Take us back. Tell us how your football journey began.
So my football journey, I guess, depending on how far you go all the way back, you can go all the way back to the rec days. But here at Sherall, it's changed quite a bit through the years. when I came through, I mean, just in our rec leagues, we had to have 4 or 5 teams in each age group, right? So, the leagues were always highly competitive. And, that kind of grew up in that. All the coaches always wanted to win. It was never, what's the right way? Everybody wanted to win. Let's just put it that way. So then, transitioned into, got into middle school. I actually played running back in rec ball. So growing up, I was actually a running back.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, sure did. So that was kind of my, for the first, call it, several years, I was the running back. When we threw the ball in rec, we do like a halfback pass and I would throw it. But I ran the ball. So I was the tailback. So got to middle school, Coach Porter, he, was like, hey, go to your position. And so I actually went to running back because, that's what I played. And, then after watching me throw and other stuff, he's like, hey, why don't we try you at quarterback? So then it kind of, that started the evolution and, then played with Coach Porter at middle school there, 7th and 8th grade. I don't think we lost a game that I'm aware of over those 2 years. Then transitioned up with Coach White as a JV, quarterback my freshman year. And I think the first 3 games my freshman year, we beat like Myrtle. We were 3A at that point. We played like Myrtle Beach and several other, bigger schools, and we just absolutely blew everybody out. And we were throwing, 3 or 4 or 5 touchdowns a game. So then Coach Bourne actually pulled me up to varsity as a freshman, but I got mono, so I was out for pretty much, the rest of that regular season. Came back in, I think the last game against Darlington, which was Orlando Hudson and Brian, the big receiver, Brian Scott, went to Carolina and all those guys. We actually beat them 28-0. So then we went into the playoffs there, got my first, playing time at varsity, was actually in the playoff home game against Dreer. Threw my first touchdown pass to Ken Gibson. It was a 157 flood in the end zone down by the bathroom. Still remember it. And so, we crushed them. It was like 52-0. And then we went down and played Stall in Charleston. It was muddy. It was like ankle deep, raining. It was an absolute swamp pit, and we got smoked. So that was, the initial deal there. Had some, we were always really tough, coming through high school. As far as, football was concerned, we were always good, hard-nosed. Coach Bourne did a phenomenal job. Loved him. And, he really, if you play for Coach Bourne, you could play for anybody because he absolutely made sure you were tough. And playing for him actually set the stage for me, as a junior. Georgia Tech offered me a full scholarship. So I committed to go play Georgia Tech as a junior. And Ralph Friedgen was the offensive coordinator. George O'Leary was the head coach. Ralph Friedgen was the offensive coordinator for the San Diego Chargers in '95 when they won the Super Bowl. So O'Leary, he was actually with the New York Giants. I think he was their defensive coordinator. So on that staff at Georgia Tech, Doug Marrone, he was the offensive line coach there. He ended up being the head coach at the Jaguars, Bill, several different places in the NFL. Bill O'Brien was the running back coach. O'Leary was the head coach. Friedgen was the offensive coordinator. So just on that staff, there was like 5 guys, that were ended up being NFL head coaches. So we had a really, really talented staff. It was an NFL staff. So, it was a big transition, coming from black 42, black 48, quick pitch, 56 power, 156 flood, and now, we're running NFL concepts. The playbook's literally 4 inches thick with about 200 formations and about 800 different plays. didn't really understand coverage. But Ralph Friedgen, he was a very, very rough man as far as, he would absolutely dog cuss you, everybody. And it didn't matter who you were, where you came from, or whatever. But he was, Coach Form was tough too. So it didn't really bother me. I'd pretty much heard everything that I needed to ever hear to to have thick skin. So that wasn't really, an issue for me. But, there was a guy, Brian Camp. He was like Mr. Ohio football. He was there, and, to kind of show the difference, he had kind of been babied and pampered his whole career. And when he got in that situation when he wasn't being pampered, he literally couldn't take it. So he ended up being moved to fullback. The guy was very athletic, threw a great ball, but, people don't understand, like, hey, if you're in a pampered environment your whole life, when you get outside of your little pond and you go into the big ponds, you're going to run into people who don't care who you are, where you came from, or whatever. They want a result, and they'll talk to you any kind of way. And if you can't handle that, like, you're not going to make it. So, some people do kids injustice by, babying them too much, because once as soon as they get outside of that little fence, somebody's going to be rough. And if they can't handle that, that will absolutely make a difference. But so Coach Friedgen, he was my offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech. Our very first year, my first year there, we went to the Gator Bowl, played the Hurricanes. Ken Dorsey was a quarterback, Clinton Portis. They had all those guys. I think it was a close game. Joe Hamilton was our starting quarterback that year. So he was the finalist for the Heisman. He's from, Moncks Corner, Alvin, South Carolina. So he was a South Carolina guy too. Super short guy. Is unbelievable. I've always been amazed at how he did what he did. Both of our right tackles, John Carmen was from New York. He was 6'8", like 320. And then, our other tackle, he was like 6'6". Both of these are huge guys. And Joe's might be 5'8". I don't know how in the world he could see and do the way that he did. He set ACC records. Guy was a phenomenal player. And he could never see. There's no way he could see over those guys. But he was a heck of a quarterback. So then after that year at Georgia Tech, Joe graduated. He got drafted by Tampa Bay in the 7th round. So then it was me and George Godsey. We actually competed for the starting job my redshirt freshman year. So I redshirted the whole first year. And then the next year, it was redshirt freshman year. Me and George were up for the starting job. I actually won the starting job. And our first game was actually against Virginia Tech and Michael Vick in Blacksburg. And you guys may actually remember, I was actually going to start the game. But right before kickoff, it was like a lightning storm, and Lee Corso's car got struck by lightning at the field there in Blacksburg. The game ended up getting canceled. So we didn't end up playing. The game got canceled, whatever. Then we end up then the first game was against Central Florida. Me and George split time that game. Next game was against Florida State. During practice, I pulled my groin, couldn't run. George went out, played well, and that was kind of it. So, tough world. But over the next 2 years, that year we played in the Peach Bowl, and then the next year we played in the Seattle Bowl. I played in 11 games over those 2 years. Then all of our coaches started leaving. Friedgen went to Maryland. O'Leary actually left for like a day and went to Notre Dame. And then
I remember that.
Yeah, about his resume or whatever. Yeah. So then he ended up, after they fired him for that, then he went to Central Florida. Chan Gailey came in, and so there was a transfer quarterback that came, AJ Suggs. He transferred from Tennessee. So he came in, we were competing. And at this point, I'd already been there 3 years. So Bill O'Brien was the offensive coordinator. He kept Friedgen's same offense in there. I knew it inside and out. I could run the option. I could do everything in it. And, it was a situation in spring practice. Some things happened. They brought us in and were like, hey, we're going to evaluate you guys based off these statistics. And, we're keeping that. And so, one day after practice, I had a really good day, was in Coach O'Brien's office. And, the stat sheets and stuff were there. And I looked at them. I was like, man, there's no way that's right. So I went through the whole practice and was looking at it. And I went to him and I was like, hey, Coach, I was like, man, these numbers are all wrong. And he was like, well, we're not, it's not really that big of a deal. We're not really looking. I was like, well, man, you said that's how y'all are grading us. And so, he kind of just hemmed and hawed. And I was like, okay, I see where this is going. So that's when I made the decision. I was like, okay, so I'm leaving. Like, I know I'm better than this guy. I'm beating him out, but then y'all are doing some other different things. So then I transferred, to the University of Delaware, and Tubby Raymond, the inventor of the wing tee, won 300 games. One of the all-time winningest college coaches, had just retired. K.C. Keeler was the new head coach who played at Delaware, won a national championship there in the late 70s. As me and my dad were actually flying back from Atlanta, when we landed, we got a call and was like, hey, the head coach for Delaware is calling. He wants you to come up and visit. And I was like, where's Delaware? I was like, Delaware? At that point, I really didn't know where it was. I was like, man, is that by Connecticut? Where is that? And so then, I talked to Coach Keeler, and I'd never heard of it, honestly. And, he had told me about all the championships and things that they won. And I was like, man, Rich Gannon had played there, Scott Bruner, and he named off, all there'd been quite a few, NFL quarterbacks that had come through there. And I was like, okay. And he's like, hey, we're running the no huddle offense, spread. We're going to throw it around all over the place. You're going to run. And I was like, okay. I was like, you're getting my attention now. So I went up on a visit. And so Delaware is actually, believe it or not, in that area, there's 25,000 kids that go to undergrad, that go to the University of Delaware. Georgia Tech is only 12. So it was twice as big as Georgia Tech was. And in Delaware, there's no pro sports. The Blue Hens are the biggest thing in that area. At that point, you had Temple, which was terrible. As far as locally in the area, Maryland wasn't any good. And then you had Rutgers. So that was Rutgers was terrible. Now, since then, those schools have, obviously gotten better. But back then, everybody in that kind of tri-state area, University of Delaware was a place to be. So we went up on a visit. I committed, and, we got a couple transfers in from some receivers. From one was from USC, David Bowler. Another guy, Joe Blameyer from Arizona State. Got a couple guys. And first year, we're putting in a new offense and all of that. We were 6-5. The 11th game of the year, we were playing Maine. Maine was ranked number 3 in the country. We went to Maine, and we beat them 37-0. So at that point, we knew, and I actually tore my rotator cuff and labrum in that game, but I didn't get to play the next week. But at that point, we knew, hey, we had something really special. But, we lost the 5 games that we lost, 3 or 4 of them were by 2 or 3 points or less. In Richmond, we had the ball on the 1-yard line. We were down by 2, kicking a field goal, and it got blocked. So, instead of kicking a 10-yard field goal and winning the game, they block it and we lose. It was a couple things like that happened. So we were a couple plays away from really having a good team then. So that offseason, we actually got a transfer from Duke, who was led the ACC in sacks, Sean Johnson. So we picked up him as a transfer, and then we rolled into, the senior year, and we were hitting on all cylinders. Everybody knew the offense, and, we were able to roll through it and, go 15-1, and was fortunate enough to win a national championship.
That's unreal. That is wild. You know, that's the story and the perseverance, the adversity, that just to stay with it and to eventually achieve a natty. I mean, that's we love having natties on the show, don't we? Don't we, Matt? um,
So I'm going to jump in because I love the football story, and obviously, leading after Delaware, you get picked up by the Philadelphia Eagles, and as an outsider and as a fan and a coach, do you have that one story about Andy Reid that you could share?
Coach Reed he's a super nice guy. Um, when you think about um, like good people, he's a truly a good person. Um, he's not rough as he never really gets after anybody. Super great guy. The NFL is it's totally different. That's so to try to put some context to that. So to answer your question, no, I don't have like any one particular story about him, other than like he was just a super nice guy and phenomenal coach. I was fortunate enough to be able to learn the West Coast offense from him. He sat under Bill Walsh and Mike Holmgren. I was fortunate enough to be able to sit under him for 2 years and learn and sit in all the quarterback meetings and all the installations and go through a 5-inch thick playbook of the West Coast offense with Marty Morningwig, Pat Shermer, Brad Childress, Andy Reid, and all those guys every single day. That was just a great experience from that standpoint. But the transition, your whole life you're competing. It's like, hey man, work harder. You're trying, hey, the best guy's going to play. You're going to get an opportunity to compete. It's going to be fair. You're taught that your whole life. And until you get to the NFL, that's true. As a college, player, like my senior year, we went 15-1, won the national championship, won the conference championship. I was actually fortunate enough to be a finalist for the Walter Payton Award in, 1AA or whatever they call it now, FCS. That's essentially the Heisman. It's the top player in the country for, 1AA or FCS, whatever they call it. So, I was a finalist in that and, won the national championship, consensus All-American, was able to, accomplish that. So, in practice, you're getting all the reps, you're the guy, right? I mean, hey, you got the ball in your hand every play. And, in December, you win the national championship, you're in all these award banquets with the president, Joe Biden. Well, at that point, he was Senator Joe Biden. They're taking you down to Washington, showing you around, meeting you, introducing you to everybody and all of that. You get drafted in the 6th round. And then next thing you know, you're sitting in the quarterback room with Donovan McNabb, Coy Detmer, T.O., Brian Westbrook, Javon Curse, all these guys. And, you come out and you go to practice and you're
Some of this guy?
Yeah, that's right. The freak. Yeah. And those guys were he and T.O., those guys were absolute specimens. I've never seen anything like them. They were freak athletes. But, you're used to getting all the reps. And then all of a sudden now, you get drafted. They pay you money. But nobody tells you, like, coming in, like, hey, Donovan's got $100 million contract. We're paying him, $20 million a year. Every week he gets a check for, like $2 million. you're not competing with him. He's our guy, right? Hey, we're paying him $1 million a week. So yeah, like there's no competition here. So, you're trying to earn your spot. You want to earn your spot, but like in a team setting, let's say there's 20 plays in a team period, at that point, the Eagles had been in the NFC Championship game 4 years in a row. So they're a couple plays away from going to the Super Bowl without you. like, hey, they don't need you, to do anything, right? You're trying to make the team. So, the team's already rolling with or without you. So that, mindset of, hey, I'm trying to compete, but let's say there's 20 plays in a team set. Well, guess what? Donovan's getting 15 of the 20. And you got, 2 or 3 other guys that are splitting, a handful of reps. So, you go through a team, you get a few reps here, you go to 7-on-7, you get a few reps there. And all of a sudden we've gone through all the practice and, you've got maybe 10 or 15 reps and you're used to getting 40 or 50. And then it's like, hey, okay, well, practice is over. So, how do you're not getting to get the timing down with the receivers and all that. And so, that's kind of the way it flows every day. And then guess what? Hey, now we got a game. Now you're on TV and you've gotten 25 reps and everybody's watching you play on television. And you know what? You're a tenth of the preparation that you've had to play at any other level in life. Now you're playing against the highest competition with a fraction, of the preparation. So that's a big gap. And, in your mind, you're a competitor, right? To get to that point, you're a high competitor wanting the ball, so the mental challenge of that. And obviously this is in hindsight. I mean, during the time it's like, man, I want the ball, hey, I need some reps so I can, get better, blah, blah, blah. But that was the biggest challenge throughout the whole process was that, because it's a business at that point. Hey, we're paying you. We don't need you. We need you to do whatever we want you to do. If we need you to just throw running back routes today, hey, we're paying you a lot of money to do that. So do that. And that mindset versus what you've been your whole life to that, it's like totally different. Like, hey, we need you to be a good team player. Whatever it is that we need you to do, that's what we need you to do. You're being compensated to do it, so go do it. So that was a big adjustment.
So I guess kind of leads me to like a 2-part question here, and you can kind of, roll with it however you want. But at that time, dealing with that, was God ever a part of your relationship and helping you evolve through that career? And what did football teach you at that moment that still shows up in your life today?
Yeah. So, from a faith standpoint, really, throughout the whole process, in high school, I remember explicitly, praying and asking, for a scholarship. And within a couple of weeks, I got one in the mail, literally. So, answer prayers, literally got one in the mail. And, when I opened it and read it, it was like, Georgia Institute of Technology offering you a full grant and aid scholarship. And at the time I was like, what does that mean? It's like, you're just thinking, hey, full scholarship, whatever. And I was like, man, is that it? So, obviously it was, but, that, and at Georgia Tech, it was very, that was a very trying time because, you feel, I felt like I had put in my time, I really had stayed the course, put in hard work for multiple years and kind of felt like it was my turn. But, then they didn't think it was my turn. So, a lot of prayer and, faith in that to make that decision because, hey, at that time, people didn't transfer a lot. Now that they're leaving every 6 months, they're at a different school. But back then it was a pretty big deal because you didn't get all the free transfers and that kind of stuff. So, you had to, if you had to like transfer down so you didn't have to sit out. So, that was a huge leap of faith there, through prayer and asking the Lord, to give guidance on that. And then, the door just opened immediately. So, like I said, with Delaware and, ended up being, the right place. And before the draft, talking about faith and, prayers of agreement, that type of thing. My pastor at the time called me when I was sitting in my apartment, just pretty randomly, actually. And he said, son, I feel led for us to come into agreement and have a prayer here that you'll be drafted. And I said, yes, sir. I'd love to pray that.
Take that prayer.
Yeah, absolutely. So we prayed and came into agreement, and then sure enough, hey, I got drafted. And the draft situation was, it was kind of like, hey, we won the national championship. It was a big deal. And, people may not realize it, but Newark, Delaware, it's 25 minutes from Philadelphia. It's like 30 minutes from Baltimore, 2 hours from DC, 2 hours from New York. So there's like 5 or 6 NFL teams within like an hour and a half. So, our pro day, man, we had tons of teams there. Marty Morningweg, Pat Shermer, those guys they were down there a lot. Tommy Gamble for the Colts, he was there. So, then all of a sudden, it's like, hey, then I was talking to Coach Keeler, and I was like, man, I think, these guys are calling me all the time on the phone. I was like, do I need an agent? And he was like, hey, I got one. Here's a buddy. It wasn't like, and here was the other thing, I just had shoulder surgery. So, I played the whole playoff, the last game of the season. I had a grade 3 shoulder separation in my non-throwing shoulder against Villanova that game, and played all 4 playoff games and the national championship with a grade 3 shoulder separation. So after the season, I had to have shoulder surgery. So had to do that, then get better, and then do pro days, and then the draft. So, it was kind of a lot, there at one time, and it was kind of a whirlwind because as soon as the draft's over, in like 3 weeks after that, you're in minicamp in the NFL. So it's like, hey, you're going from your college. Next thing you know, hey, you're in the locker room with all those guys.
That's crazy.
I haven't even graduated college yet.
That is crazy. Matt, you got one?
We talked about all the big names, and as a coach, I love that. You studied a lot of offensive scheme and stuff from a lot of big-time offensive guys and innovators in the game of football. Have you ever thought about being an offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
Matt's got a job opening.
Yeah. So me and Phillip, we've had, a lot of discussions about that. You kind of put me on the spot there. But, it's, yes. I've coached when my oldest son, when he played a year of football, and we coached, and it was a lot of fun. And, I enjoy the X's and O's for sure. But right now we've been kind of locked in with baseball for the last several years. But no, I do enjoy offensive football. I don't know if I answered the question, but
no. I asked the question, sort of halfway joking, but that was a pretty good answer. I like it.
Hey, don't think he won't walk up and down the sidelines with a headset on. The funny thing about Andy, what I think a lot of people would be intrigued to know, Matt, and I'm gonna tell you a little secret on him. Well, it's not a secret for anybody around here. He was probably just as good of or better baseball player. His state championship that he won, he threw a no-hitter and hit a home run in it. So the accolades this dude has racked up is unreal. My resume, if you look at mine, it's very blank. Matt's resume has 4 state championships from Burns, U state champion, national champion. So I'm just gonna cut my screen off, guys.
So I'll throw one more question out there, and then I'll turn it back over to Phillip. What I mean, we talk to our kids every day about, discipline, determination, grit, hard work. What of those lessons did you carry over from football? How did that translate into your life and into your faith?
Perseverance. I mean, it's not going to be easy. From a faith standpoint, when in the Bible, before the children of Israel, when they came out of Egypt, when they were going into the promised land, they sent 12 spies, and they came back and they said, "Hey, what'd you see?" And a bunch of them saw giants, right? And they didn't get to enter, but there was 2 that said, "Hey, let's go up at once and conquer it." So there's going to be giants seemingly in your way to get to your promised land. And, you've got to have faith according to your promise that, hey, that is for you. And you've got to go by faith, and receive your promise. So, and it's not going to be easy. You're going to face a lot of adversity along the way. People that you think are friends that love you or whatever, all along the way, you're going to, you'll see who's really there, who's not. And hey, they're there as long as you're not past them. And when you pass them, then guess what? Maybe they're not, so it exposes a lot of things. You see a lot of things, and, it won't be easy, but perseverance, as a believer, we have promises in the word that if we hold fast, and aggressively pursue what we're promised, and don't lose the faith, you'll achieve what it is that you're trying to. But like I said, it's not something that's going to be easy, and it's not going to be handed to you. And that's the biggest thing is, hey, just because something doesn't look the way that you think it should look right now, keep working. Change it. Don't let somebody else dictate your future to you. Hey, you know what? It may be a situation where you've got to go into a different, an avenue. This door may be closed, but hey, this one's open. Don't give up. Work hard. And have a plan and work the plan. That's stuff in hindsight, that I can say looking back. When I came through, I can't necessarily, there were things, I went to football camps and, I had somewhat of a plan, but it was really more divinely guided, I guess I could say, than like me. I didn't come up and formulate this plan. But now that I've been through all of that, now I can absolutely see a clear plan, for others and, that type of thing. But, get with someone, a mentor, who's been where you want to go, and pick their brain until you know everything that they know, so that it can help you get there. That's the easiest way. If somebody's already done what it is that you want to do, get with them and learn as much as you can from them, so you don't have to make the same mistakes that they made, and you can shorten your learning curve.
Yeah, man.
I love that. We've mentioned a lot of those things throughout the course of these various shows, and it's kind of cool to hear it again from another voice and reiterate it in a different way. So thank you for that answer. That's great.
Yeah, and Andy and I get a chance to vent to each other often about things, and I've learned to pick his brain and to see his methodical work ethic. And he hits it on the head for me. You got to work hard, and if that plan doesn't work, you work hard through another way. You just don't quit, right? That's the key. And I've watched him coach my kids through the years and make them better ball players. Hard but fair. But the end result is just amazing. And a lot of people don't understand that work ethic, and it's cool to see it in action. I got one last question. It's a simple one. What's your favorite scripture? What's your go-to to get you through the hard times?
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
That's not a bad one. Definitely not a bad one. Uh, that's a cool scripture. I think Tebow might have used that one once.
Yeah, it's a pretty common
Pretty
one.
popular one.
Yeah, Philippians
Jagger has that one
4:13.
wrote in his hat, so he lives by that one too.
Yeah, Philippians 4:13, man, it's a good one. I think a lot of athletes have leaned on that verse at some point in their lives, and I appreciate you sharing that one as well, man. Philip, you got anything else?
No, just again, man, thank you for coming on, Andy. Thank you for sharing those stories. It's always great to hear that from an inside perspective. I mean, especially myself as a fan, Matt as a coach, and it's always awesome to hear that climb that you've done, and I'm super glad to be a part of it, and still hear those stories, and just to let you know, I know you are a competitor, and I know I didn't play well the last time we played together, so I am working on that so I can get back on the team. All right.
Hey, you're always on my team, buddy.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on for sure. We love having you on here, so appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing the stories, man, and the connections and the legends that you played with and played under. That's really cool to hear from the football standpoint, but also when you tie it into faith and your perseverance, as you mentioned, man, that's amazing to share, and I think our listeners will appreciate that.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure, guys.
Cool, man. Thank you, Andy.
And we are back. Man, some great stories. Played for some legends. Played with some legends. He said T.O. and Curse and all these guys. And then I had to hit him with the OC question because he studied some offenses under some very, very big offensive minds. But man, Phillip, we appreciate that connection. That was a great time with him.
Yeah, Andy's a great guy, man. He's look, there's to me, there's probably not too many people from around here that's made it, to the collegiate level, much less to go all the way to the league. But to keep his faith, to keep his groundness, to keep his humility, like he's done, and to come back here and still give back to the town and be a part of it. And man, it's just great. I'm glad to be friends with him. I've had that friendship for a long time. We talk probably at least 3 or 4 times a week, and it's always an interesting conversation with him because it's you know, imagine the intensity that you just saw there, just talking about regular things. It doesn't change. Like if we're talking about golf, it's that intense, and it's you can feel that championship drive in everything that he does, and that's why he made it, man. I mean, he's a different breed. Um, but hey, a winner, a Sherrall Brave, state champion, national champion, NFC champion. Great resume, great story, but also a good man of God and a faith, a believer, and that's always a positive thing. Great role model. So glad to have him on tonight. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely love the stories of Andy Reid and all these various coaches that he played under. But the biggest takeaway that I got from his story was the perseverance and how football taught him perseverance and leading into his walk with Christ. I thought that was an amazing correlation that our listeners could learn from for sure.
Yeah, you're talking again, he said he had a plan and then he had to rework his plan. He's literally a lightning strike away from being a starting quarterback at Georgia Tech. He was supposed to start that game. The weather comes in, the game gets canceled, some things happen, pulls his groin, and that opportunity slips and he has to go another direction. Obviously made the best of it, winning a national championship. But that's the part I like. Like I was going here and that changed. Now I got to go here, but I'm going to go here with the same intensity I was going here. I'm not giving up. I'm going to continue down this path, and I'm still going to make great things happen. That's it, man. That's the story of life, right?
Well, I mean, Phillip, how many times on this show have we talked about trusting God's plan, even when we didn't think that was in our plans, right? His plan was to be the starting quarterback at Georgia Tech. God said, no, 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 you're not. I'm going to literally stop that with a lightning strike. And now you're going to go to Delaware. You're going to win a national championship. And if you keep the faith, you'll be in the NFL. And
The
it's
funny,
crazy how all this worked out, man. It
prayed for a
literally,
scholarship, and I got it.
yeah, I mean, it literally happened. But it's nothing but God, right?
Yeah,
A lightning strike
yeah,
changed the whole direction of his life and his career. And he kept the faith and kept working for the ultimate goal and trusted God's plan instead of saying, well, that wasn't my plan. I'm supposed to be at Georgia Tech. I'm supposed to be the starter. Amazing story. Loved it, Phillip.
Yeah, man, it's a good story. I think the fans are going to love it. If you're a sports geek and you love like inside information on how sports work and the climb and the grind, you'll love this story.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, Phillip, we'll recap our verse real quick, and then we'll close it out in prayer. I'll start with my verse. Let me go back to my notes. There it is. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will."
I love it. Mine was 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here. Embrace that transformation. Embrace
Amen.
it. Enjoy the process and embrace that transformation.
Amen. Amen. And you know, I'll say it one more time in tonight's episode before we get off. Get 1% better. Get 1% better. Phillip, I'll close this out in prayer if you're ready.
Go ahead.
Dear Lord, we ask that you help us embrace this season of growth, this spring transformation. Give us the discipline to change, the faith to trust your plan, to trust your process, to trust how you are going to transform us. Lord, we ask that you transform us into what you've called us to be. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen, my brother.
Man, I love it. What a good time tonight. Great guests, great message, great verses. Armor Up Athletics, episode 35, spring transformation. As always, go Cougars.
Go Jesus.
Ephesians 6:11, yeah, it's the drill. Put on the full armor, stand firm in his will. Armor up, we don't back down. Shield of faith when the world comes around. Sword in my hand, I'm ready to fight. Jesus is the captain leading through the night. Yeah, sports in the spirit, it's a game of endurance. Training in faith, no room for deterrence. Quinn and Phillip, tag team for the kingdom. Breaking down walls till the world can see them. Helmet of salvation, blocking the lies. Built the truth, yeah.